Hi everyone, it's Kimber, the Study Abroad Specialist. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to set realistic goals for study abroad. So before we dive into today's video, I just wanted to let you know about a freebie that I have for you. So if you look into the description box below, you are going to see a link to my study abroad goal setting worksheet. So it is perfect to use as you follow along in this video for today, because you're going to find, and we're going to dive into it in a second, that goals are going to guide everything that you do within your study abroad journey. And for this free printable worksheet, it gives you an opportunity to be able to clearly set some goals for yourself that you can follow up with as you go along within your program. So definitely check that out and print it out and get started. So we're talking about goal setting today. So as you know, on this channel, I talk about goal setting within a lot of different topics. I know that for my Learn How to Study Abroad in 30 Days series in particularly, I talked about that quite a bit. And so we're going to be touching on some of the points that I may have already talked about in past videos, but I want to make it a little bit more poignant to goal setting specifically, because I know that this is something that either students don't necessarily think about as they embark on their journey, or I know there's a lot of students that they don't actually work on it until they're in the middle of their program. And so neither one of those are helpful. So we want to get you started on thinking about goal setting before you even sign on the dotted line, before you even get started, and even before you even get on the plane. So as someone who works with students all the time who are working towards their study abroad journey goals, after we figure out what those goals are, I know how impactful it can be when you actually don't have them. So the number one thing that you do want to figure out, even if you have not done this yet and you've already gotten into a program, you want to figure out what your why is. So why do you want to do this? And there is no right or wrong answer. So even if it is, I just want to get away for a semester, I'm not going to say that that's going to be your best why, but you can do a lot with that as long as you figure out what you want to do once you get there. So you want to figure out what your why is. Same thing, not just for the program, but for the location that you're going. For a lot of students, they choose their study abroad location based on a specific reason, a specific goal that they want to reach. For some students, they just have always been interested in Paris and they're like, that's where I want to go. Again, there is no right or wrong answer, but you need to understand and set goals around what the location is going to be so that you can actually accomplish things. Similarly, for when you're actually going, so are you going during the spring semester? Are you going through the fall semester? Are you going for an entire year? Again, what are your goals going to be? I feel that if you can't define your why and you don't know your why, that the goals are going to be obsolete, because again, if you don't have a why, then even if you set goals, they're not going to line up because you're not going to have that same level of motivation. For students who I work with that they've already figured out what their why is, they've got that down pat since the beginning of them applying to their programs, but they still are confused on the goals. One of the things I always like to start with is, where are you right now within your educational journey? Where are you on the path that you want to go forward? So are you a student who you're going to be graduating within the next 6 months, but you were just like, I wanted to be able to study abroad before I graduated? That is a lot of students have that same story. Or are you a student who maybe you're early on in your educational career? You could be a freshman in college or the equivalent of that if you are living outside of the US, and you're like, well, I want to do this right now. I want to study abroad right now because I want to begin building up my networks. I may be interested in looking for internships or different things like that. There, again, is no right or wrong answer. But whatever it is, you want to start your goals out very basic, and then you can add on. So one of the things that I know for sure as human beings that we do is, when we are goal setting in general, not just for study abroad, that we often start too broad. So let's say that you are someone, you have just graduated and you're like, I'm going to get my passport and I'm going to take a gap year and I want to travel to 50 countries. Now, is that possible? Yes. Is it likely? Probably not. Within the next year, that's when you want to do it. Although you could scale down and say, I'm interested in taking a gap year and traveling to 3 countries, maybe even 5 countries. Is that possible? Yes. Would you need to start out with maybe 1 or 2 and then move up as you go? Absolutely. But that's a little bit more attainable. And so anytime that we are doing that, we want to make sure that if you go back to maybe in university already, or even if you're in high school, you've learned these already about those SMART goals, you want to apply the same acronym, the same use of those goals to your study abroad goals. So thinking about, is this actually a SMART goal? Is it something that is tangible? Can I actually obtain it? Can I actually reach it? Are there metrics that I can tie to it? And you don't have to get super, super, super detailed in that way. You don't have to write a report about what you want your goals to be, but you definitely want to make sure that if you are setting goals for yourself during your study abroad journey, that they're things that you can actually accomplish. So if it's going to be something where, let's say you are studying abroad in Japan and you're like, well, I want to spend a month or so traveling throughout Europe while I'm studying abroad in Japan, that is likely not going to be possible. You could do it after you are finished with your semester in Japan. You could even do it before, but there's no way to really connect the dots to be able to do that while you are supposed to be a full-time student in Japan. So you just have to think about being able to set goals that are going to be realistic, but then also creating buildable goals. So for a lot of students out there, I know that they will say that they want to use their first time studying abroad to be sort of a test run, and then they may have future goals to study abroad. So maybe they studied abroad during a Maymester or during the summer, and then they're like, well, I want to come back next spring and study abroad again, and then I may have another opportunity to do it again. So people do different things like that, but you want to make sure that your goals are going to be buildable, but also realistic. So focus on that as well when you're getting started with goal setting for study abroad. So the next way that is very powerful to be able to set goals for anything, but particularly for study abroad, is looking at one of two things. So it could be current aspirations or future aspirations. So with your current aspirations, again, as I talked about in the beginning of the video, if you are a student, maybe you are getting ready to graduate soon and you are looking just to build up your network a little bit, get some other opportunities, maybe explore a different part of the world before you graduate and sort of head out into the real world, that may be related to the reason why you're interested in study abroad. Whereas for future aspirations, maybe you're someone like, I eventually want to move abroad and start a business. And so I know that I want to go live in Spain, and that's what I've always dreamed of, but I don't know anything about it. So I'm going to spend a semester there, get feelers out to see, do I like this city? Do I like this part of the culture? What do I not like? What do I do like about it? And then I will know that I've been able to create some connections. I've been able to build up and establish myself a little bit with it, at least within my little arena. And then that way, the next time that I want to apply for something, I already know what it's about, and I can get started with connecting with entrepreneurs. And then that way, if you want to return, you're able to do that. And so similarly to what I was saying in the first point, you want to be able to have goals that are going to be realistic, but also scalable. And that's where it kind of comes in. So a lot of students who are in the current aspirations box, you're just thinking about the realistic part of what is today, what's happening right now. Whereas for a lot of people who are using it for future aspirations, you are looking at the scalability, you're looking at the longevity, you're looking at ways that you can add on more to cushion that goal. So anytime that you are creating a goal for anything, but particularly for study abroad, you want to make sure that you're looking at, and you could do both. You could say that I want to look at what my current aspirations are, again, why I'm doing this right now, and then looking at how is study abroad going to help me in the future. I am definitely going to be putting out more content on that about how you can use study abroad once you return home to enhance your life, enhance your career. I'm going to be talking more about that in the upcoming months, but you definitely want to think about that towards your goal setting in this moment before you even head off on your journey. So definitely consider that as well as an important part of what your aspirations are both now and in the future. So another way to aid in your goal setting is to map out your semester. So I know that this can feel a little bit overwhelming. Number one, you are working at a deficit, because even if, let's say, you're doing an independent program where you've gotten the syllabus and you understand when things are due, and maybe they've planned in some built-in trips or whatever, you don't know everything that's going to happen. And you have to think about the fact that you are traveling to a new place. And so you're going to want to meet new people and go out and do different things. So I'm not talking about the minutia of every day I'm going to map out that on Saturday at 8 a.m. I'm doing this. It's more about an overview. So you want to have that overall big picture view of everything. And I think that's another part, that when people are planning goals, that they get so deep into the detail, it's like they go straight to the detail of, well, I want to do this, and so I'm going to need to do this, this, and this. Whereas if you actually take it out a little bit and look at the bigger picture, it can be a lot more useful to you. So if you are going through and planning your semester and you're saying that, okay, I kind of know the goals that I want to work towards for this semester. What is my semester going to look like? What time am I going to have to dedicate to reach these goals? What is my overall capacity going to be? Are you someone who you're going to be, let's say, living with other students, and you know that part of your goal that you're going to need to reach requires a lot of alone time? How are you going to be able to make that work? Is it something that is related to your educational journey directly? So maybe you're trying to earn certain credits for a degree. How does it actually work? And do you know if they're going to accept those credits? You know that I've talked about that so much that a lot of students will use study abroad opportunities to build up elective credits or build up other credits that they want to transfer back home, and then it doesn't work out for them. So whatever it is, you want to be able to map out your semester as best as you can, again, in the grand scheme, not in the details. Focus on the details later, particularly as you get started, but map that out. And then any way that you can find answers to the questions that you have, that's another thing that's going to be really useful, is that as you begin mapping out what you want your semester to look like. And I want to point out that this is not your dream semester. So again, similar to what I've been talking about the other points, you want to be realistic about, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing. But you're gonna likely have some unanswered questions that come out of that. So maybe there was something that you were mapping out and you're like, actually, I need to find out more about that, or how does this work, or what does that mean? Keep in mind that a lot of it will come to light as you get moving in your program, but there may be some things that you even want to know about before you leave. So that's why I say, if you take that sort of bird's eye view and look at things overall for the semester, that's going to help you so much as you go through planning out your goals. And that could even be related to one of your goals, to make sure that you are doing time management, or that you are making sure that you are on top of assignments or even ahead in assignments. So you definitely want to consider mapping out your semester as you work towards your goal setting for study abroad. So for number 4, this is something that I am so excited to share with you. So if you've not had a chance to download and click into the description to download the worksheet, definitely get down there and download that. You're going to want to have that. It is printable. It is free. You're going to love it. But in the, I believe it's the 3rd page of the worksheet, I created it a while ago. In the 3rd, or it could be 2nd page, you will find it once you open it. There is something called My Last Day of Study Abroad. And it is going to be a letter, a short letter. It could be a long letter if you want to make extra copies, to yourself, that you are going to write, that you are going to open on your last day or when you return home. So this is an exercise that I did when I was studying abroad in Florence, Italy. I have talked about this experience several times. I adore Italy, adore Italian culture, want to get back there very, very soon. But the particular program that I was in Italy was just not for me at the time. This was so long ago. I don't have any animosity towards it. Actually, there were lots of good things that came out of that, but it wasn't a best fit for me and what I was looking for. But I knew that, you know, my family had already paid, I had to stay there. And so I had to, in that instance, make the best of it. And one of the things I was able to do was, I myself had to do some goal setting and say, I know that I'm in a situation that I don't necessarily want to be in, but I'm going to make this the best bad situation possible. So one of the things that I did was, I very early on in my semester there wrote a letter to myself. And what I decided to do was, this letter was forward thinking. And so that's what you're going to do in your letter that you're going to write to yourself, is you're basically writing about to yourself. Or it could be, if you want to address it to someone else and maybe they hold you accountable, that's a good way to do it. If you want to even mail it home to a friend and say, I want to talk to you about this when I get back home, that's actually even cooler idea. That one of the things that it helped me to do was to be able to sort of forward think and think about some of the things that I wanted to accomplish in spite of not having the best time. So thinking about some of the goals that I had, some of the places I wanted to go, some of the people that I wanted to meet, some of the adventures I wanted to have. that put things into perspective for me. And it also led me to a place of gratitude because, again, it is a first world problem to be stuck in Florence, Italy for a semester. That is not an issue that most people are going to be mad about, even if they're not having the best time. So I wanted to frame it in that way. And this is something that I've shared with students pretty much since I've been doing study abroad advising and working with students. And I know that it is something that a lot of people find so helpful, even if they're going to a place that they are gung ho about and they're like, I cannot wait and I am obsessed with it and they have the best semester. Again, one of the things that this practice helps you to do is to keep you honest, keep you accountable, just so that you have a document to look back on and say, I did do all those things. I did get to go to these different places. I did get to network within this particular circle or whatever it was, whatever is going to be for you. But it's a great way to hold yourself accountable. And again, as you are thinking about your goals and the goals you want to set, you want to make sure you have some level of accountability. And so if you are writing about your goals within this letter to yourself, then you're going to be able to look back on that and have great reflection and be able to take some of that as you move forward. So definitely print out the entire worksheet and work on your last day letter. And like I said, you can either just put it in an envelope and put it away, and maybe you leave it at home and you read it when you get home, or you could even give it to a friend or send it to a friend once you get abroad and say, hey, keep me accountable on this. I want to see what I wrote to myself 6 months ago when I get back and make sure that I've accomplished all my goals. So definitely do that. It is a very fun exercise and you're going to love it. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I know that with goal setting, it can be very overwhelming. As I said, I think my main tip for you is that you want to start small. You want to make sure that your goals are smart as well, but you don't want to just go grand scheme here. That is where people get caught up, because once you do those grand goals, everything feels overwhelming. You feel like, how am I going to do this? Whereas if you can just bite off a little bit here, a little bit there, it's going to be a little bit more realistic for you, keeping in mind that you have a finite amount of time anyway for study abroad. And so you want to make things relate to your goals that are going to be worthwhile, and also too that are not going to be stressful. This should not be a stressful time. I know it is a stressful time because you are going to a new city, new country, there's all these different things, but you don't want to add more stress to yourself. So don't do that with your goal setting. And of course, download the freebie below. So if you have not been to my channel before, I release videos every single Friday and sometimes on Wednesdays and Thursdays as well. So definitely subscribe to the channel. Please like this video and let me know in the comments below, what are some of your goals that you were thinking about for study abroad? Have you started thinking about goals? Is this maybe the video where you're like, oh my goodness, I need to think about goals? Either way, let me know below in the comments. I would love to hear what some of your goals are. And also, what are your whys as well? Tell me what your why is for study abroad below in a comment. I am so excited that you found this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one very soon.